So I was having a conversation with someone the other day, and they were telling me about a quote that says experience is the best teacher. And I thought to myself, that quote is very deep, but I think there's a disclaimer that needs to be added to that quote, that it doesn't have to be your own experience, because living a life where you must experience everything to learn the best from it, I think that can be quite costly. Right, and I was just sharing them 3 points that I think are so important that can help reduce your learning curve when you're approaching anything. Number one, like I said, it doesn't have to be your own experience. So when you're going through anything, or you're about to start a journey, start a business, start a project, one of the big things that I always look at is how many other people have tried what I want to try, and what principles can I learn from their experience. I think a lot of people, what they do wrong is that they try to find other people's blueprints, right? So they want the 10 steps towards doing something, or they want to follow the exact steps that the other person took. But life is different, and there's so many unknown variables. So it's not about the blueprint, but it's about the principles. If you can learn the principles that somebody else used to do what you are trying to do, you can shorten your learning curve and be able to ensure that you reduce the amount of errors that you make as you go along. That's point number one. Point number two, I think what is important is a concept that I say, that I've coined, finding your light switches, right? What are light switches? If you're sitting in a room in the dark and you switch on the light, you don't have to fight the darkness. Just by bringing light into that, the whole room lights up, and you have a bigger perspective of the room. And there are industry experts in anything that you're trying to do, that one or two conversations with them can be like a light switch to you, that can help you see the shortfalls and the blind spots that you would have possibly had in your approach of doing that very thing. For instance, for years I tried to lose weight, and I would always mess it up, until I had a conversation with a personal trainer, and literally just a 30-minute conversation helped me understand the little things that I could do every single day to ensure that I can better my journey of losing weight, right? I was able to leave Coke, I was able to leave sugar, and I was able to reach my body goal by the end of the year. Something that I had struggled with for years, but because I had the right conversation with someone who could illuminate me in what I was doing wrong, that helps shorten the learning curve, right? And then point number three, which I think is absolutely important, wherever possible, simulate. I think that's one of the key things that a lot of us fail to do. Simulate the project on a small scale, where there's still safety nets, where there's not such a big risk. I was having a conversation with a teacher the other day, and I was saying to them, most of them are setting up kids for failure when they get to matric. And he was like, what do you mean? I was like, you teach kids the content, but you never simulate the pressure of matric, right? From grade 1 to grade 11, you're writing exams in a classroom. And then all of a sudden in matric, they throw you in a cold hall full with all the matrics, and just the pressure of that environment, even if you know the content, right? A lot of the times the pressure of the environment, it is what gets to the minds of a lot of people. So why is it that the exam environment isn't simulated across your 11 years, so that by the time you get to matric, the pressures that you're most likely going to face, you can be able to have an opportunity to practice? I mean, they say practice makes perfect. So for me, I think those three things are very, very critical. Learn from the experiences of others, tap into light switches, industry experts in the things you want to do, and wherever possible, simulate in a less risky environment, so that when you actually go out and you do what you need to do, you can make sure that you reduce your learning curve and you're able to reach your goal a lot quicker than you would have if you just went at it blindfolded.
What would you say are some of the lessons that you've picked up, right, from other people, where you didn't necessarily have to personally go through the experience?
All right. So, for instance, when I started my life coaching business, right, one of the things which was so critical that I learned through having a mentor, right, is how to actually build a client base, right? When I started this, I didn't necessarily know how to build a client base. I was thinking of things like having a business card, having a website, all of these things that is no generic. But one of the key things that he taught me is he taught me how to tap into schools. He gave me a strategy in how to actually go into schools and build the client base there. And literally in a space of 6 months, I was able to have 10 to 15 repeat clients that on my own, it would have taken me so much longer to be able to build. Do you understand? So being able to tap into his years of experience on building a client base in that business helped me be able to shorten the learning curve. Whereas I would have just put up a website out there, put up a business plan, a business card and waited. Do you understand? But his approach helped me shorten that learning curve. So I think something like that, having a mentor who can be able to tell you these are the shortcuts that go into it. For instance, when it comes to my career, I see a lot of people going into careers and, everybody applies, the usual way everybody applies. But I remember one of my coaches telling me, it's all about positioning, build the network and position yourself accordingly. Once you can do those two things, opportunities and tapping into opportunities becomes a lot quicker. And once I got to understand that, I got to realize that, you need to position yourself right? So when I apply for a position or I apply for a job, I don't necessarily just apply by sending in the application, but I look at, okay, how can I position myself in the industry that the opportunities come to me and I don't go to the opportunities. I remember one of my coaching clients was job hunting recently. She's in Botswana and we were on a call and she was like, she's tired. So I'm like, what's wrong? And she's like, no, I've just been going door to door, actually just dropping off my CVs. And I said to her, why are you doing that? You're exerting so much energy doing that. And she's like, but what am I supposed to do? And I gave her a list. I'm like, look at the 100 people in your country who are industry experts in what you're doing and reach out to each and every one of them on LinkedIn. And literally within 3 weeks, she had gotten responses from some of the top managers in the industry that she was looking at a job for. And she was able to find employment. As we speak, she works. She didn't follow the normal route, but by positioning herself, by reaching out to people, by growing her network and becoming a brand that people would actually be looking forward to doing business with, she was able to shorten her learning curve. Otherwise, she would still be going door to door, leaving her CVs in secretaries' offices. So those are some of the things that I could say. It's so important to learn from the experience of other people.